These lusty affairs. Just like we are about to read about the affairs of who? Yeah, Agnidra, son of Priyavrat. And we also find others like Yayati, Pururava. Huh? Okay, Soma. So somebody may ask this question, so why we find all these funny stories? This is Amal Puran. Hmm?
What should be done and what should not be done in that sense. So it's also speaking about material beauty. So how it is temporary we need to understand. Though it's Sukadeva Goswami and many characters, personalities described in detail, but futility and its temporary nature is described.
Okay, fleeting nature of material beauty. Okay, good. Some other point?
The obstacles to pure devotion service.
Okay, that's also a good point. Obstacles to pure devotional service. And then more?
To engage in this pastimes means not to engage in these activities.
Okay, so what not to do? That is also being discussed. Okay, fine. So yes, basically these are two reasons. So to understand the obstacles, what is unfavorable for practice of devotional service, warnings, cautions. So all these are the purposes why such pastimes are there. And ultimately, also these pastimes are also showing us the solution to come out of these obstacles. What is the solution? That also is being described. So why? Because this is material world, and material world, all these problems are going to be there for conditioned souls. So therefore, all this is being described. Okay, fine. So let's begin. First verse. Shri Shuka uvacha evam pitari sampravritte tad anushasane vartamana agnidhro jambu dvipaukasha praja aurasavad dharma vekshamana paryagopayat. Sri Shukdev Goswami continued. After his father, Maharaj Priyavrat departed to follow the path of spiritual life by undergoing austerities, King Agnidhra completely obeyed his order. Strictly observing the principles of religion, he gave full protection to the inhabitants of Jambudvip as if they were his own begotten sons. Okay, please read the first paragraph of the purport.
Following the instruction of his father, Maharaj Agnidhra ruled the inhabitants of Jambudvip according to religious principles. These principles are exactly contrary to the modern principles of faithlessness. As clearly stated here, the king protected the citizens the way a father protects his begotten children. How he ruled the citizens is also described here. Dharma vekshamanaha, strictly according to religious principles. It is the duty of the executive head of a state to see that the citizens strictly follow religious principles. The Vedic religious principles begin with Varnashram Dharma, the duties of the four Varnas and four Ashramas. Dharma refers to principles given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first principle of Dharma or religion is to observe the duties of the four orders as enjoined by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to people's qualities and activities, society should be divided into Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, and then again into Brahmacharis, Grihasthas, Vanprastha, and Sannyasis. These are religious principles, and it is the duty of the head of state to see that his citizens strictly follow them. He should not merely act officially. He should be like a father who is always a well-wisher of his sons. Such a father strictly observes whether his sons are performing their duties, and sometimes he also punishes them.
Okay. And then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada is basically comparing the administration of previous times with the administration of modern Kali Yuga heads. So that is what he's describing. And then Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, the Krishna consciousness movement is the only hope to save the world from such devastation. It is the most scientific and authorized movement for the actual welfare of the whole human society. So throughout the Bhagavatam, many places we have read so far about Krishna conscious administration, correct? Right from the first canto, many places Bhagavatam has described, Srila Prabhupada has described about Krishna conscious administration. So, so you can quickly discuss, maybe two devotees or three devotees, whatever is convenient. You can quickly discuss what are the principles of Krishna conscious administration and how they can be applied in ISKCON scenario. Some principles of Krishna conscious administration and how to apply within ISKCON scenario. Hmm. 5 minutes, chalo. Online, how many are there? Ajahn Kunjbari, how many devotees are? Every day, how many are there from Kunjbari? Some 3, 4 are there.
Seven, Prabhuji.
Acha, 7. Acha, 7 devotees are attending. Huh? Acha. And who else is there? Dashrath Priya. They're attending online. They can do individually. Those Kunjbari devotees can do together. They're in group, na? So they can do together. Others can do individually. Okay, done? All right. Okay, let's begin. So every group can tell 2 points. Okay, so you tell the principle and application.
Prajit, following of um, the the vices, the citizens are protected from the vices. So in ISKCON scenario,
No, no, what is that? Citizens are protected from vices. How?
the king should see to it that all the citizens are they stay away from sinful life.
Okay, so principle is what?
Following four regulative principles.
Okay, so seeing that okay, tell the application.
In ISKCON scenario, Prabhuji, the member should follow the four regulative principles very strictly.
And what is the king supposed to do? What is the king supposed to do?
He should ensure that all the devotees under his protection, they are following the four regulative principles properly.
How?
By by implementation of spiritual principles and protecting
ए,
them.
थोड़ा practically कुछ बोलो भाई.
Practically.
सब हवा में चल रहा है. See, your point is correct, very important point. But so, see, you are also running some voice based something you are running. So, what you do? That only you tell.
Prabhuji, we parental control we implement,
Okay.
and we strictly
Nowadays, people have become very smart. They'll break all that.
and we don't allow people those who have girlfriends to stay.
Think little more broader level.
Strict punishment to those who misuse their.
So what you'll do? Put them in prison. What is your punishment? In your voice, what punishment is? No prasad. अरे सोचो भाई, सोचो. ठीक है, यहाँ इनको दे दो. हाँ, यहाँ है.
The king has to follow Guru Sadhana Shastra.
Okay. So,
That is the principle.
so leader must follow Shastric injunctions, correct?
Shastric, yes.
Application.
So he
ISKCON scenario.
ISKCON Prabhupada formulated the morning program. So the leader has to see that everyone is on. Yesterday we are reading how it was instructed that the leader should see that everyone is doing all those things.
So he himself should follow and
He
see
has,
others.
yeah, correct.
So in Shastra there's only morning program.
Many are there, but application to ISKCON.
So besides the morning program, is there any other?
Shastric injunction, many are there, but especially ISKCON, we have many programs which are applied. What is mentioned in Shastra.
Like Prabhupada gave many programs like Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, Prasad distribution.
Book distribution.
Yes. So like that, he should take care they are following.
Okay.
Not independent.
Shastra says that how they should be engaged according to their inclinations. Chaturvarnya Master. So the leader has to see that everybody is engaged properly according to their natures, and where they are properly situated physically also, emotionally and spiritually.
Okay, fine. Saying that people are properly engaged.
Engaged,
Yes. Prabhupada does say that one of
Yes.
the duties of leader is to see that nobody is unemployed.
Unemployed. Yeah.
Okay, good. Next. Vishadu?
It's responsible of king that to make sure that citizens progress in their Krishna conscious life.
Okay. So, progress in devotional life. Application.
ISKCON itself is application for it.
मतलब क्या?
ISKCON is in ISKCON what we promote is only devotional service.
हाँ.
We don't have that proper varnashrama,
हाँ.
but we are primarily ours is a devotional mission. So we follow the mission that is
See,
given.
here what we're discussing is how the leader is supposed to apply this. That is what we're discussing.
In ISKCON scenario.
See, we're discussing principles
Yeah.
of Krishna conscious administration.
Yes.
So, whoever is administrator, how he should administrate, that is what we're discussing.
Yeah. So Prabhupada says that I think we have that preaching should be followed by management. So spiritual life is in the forefront, and management is to support that.
Okay.
So the administration is to support the 9 process of devotion service, so that it is a main focus. It is not just management.
So, what is the main focus?
Focus is the practice of devotion service. The 9 process of devotion service.
Achha. So, how will you ensure that it is being properly practiced and people are progressing?
Like we have morning program, regular morning program, and we have Harinam Sankirtan, all those book distribution and all this. They are all devotees come and attend, do chanting and hearing together in congregation.
Okay. Okay, fine. Huh? Okay, here, next. Any other point?
Welfare, like taxes are utilized for upliftment of society, not for sense gratification.
Okay. So,
government, especially taxes in the sense like in general administration of government supposed to be done, like whatever they take, they should be utilized for the welfare of society.
Okay. So, so what is the principle?
Principle is utilization of the resources for the upliftment of all, not for sense gratification.
Okay. Appropriate utilization of resources for welfare of the people.
Welfare of. So especially in ISKCON scenario when
not for sense gratification.
Yes. So as a ISKCON, especially we are sustaining on donations and resources from outside. Many things keep coming. So the administration has to be well fixed in spiritual principles, that they are not utilizing for their own sense gratification. Any resource, anything that is coming in terms of money or resources or facilities, etc. But it should be utilized for utilizing for spiritual propagation more and more.
Yes.
And the deepening of our own principles also in
Correct.
terms of those who are there.
Yes, good. That's a very good point. Very important. Next.
Protection of the 5 weaklings, that is women, children, old men, brahmanas, cows.
Okay, protection of the weak.
So application is formation of many councils like Child Protection Council or formation of Vaishnavi ministry, where many issues regarding the abuse are discussed. Counseling is given and workshops are also taking place.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. So yes, so appropriate protection. So people must be made aware and steps taken in that direction. Okay, good. You have some other point? Jonathan, Brew, you have some point? Independently thought.
Prithum Maharaj section.
Hey, we no Veda base.
No, I'll just read one line. The head of the government should induce the citizens to become Krishna conscious.
Ho gaya na. Progress.
Or else he doesn't have any right to levy taxes.
Correct. So progress in devotional life we have written.
So even in ISKCON scenario, the leader should not only be concerned about collecting donations or making life members or increasing the people who are coming to the temple. He should be worried that how they are gradually be made Krishna conscious.
Yes, yes, that's correct. So one is concerned about making people Krishna conscious, not just giving some donations. Okay, good point. Okay.
See, online they've told.
Yes, online. Sorry, we forgot.
Points they've told engaging people according to one's swabhava.
Okay, let's write that. Okay, engaging people according to what else?
Arranging facilities, training programs for subordinates' overall improvement.
Improvement in what?
In their service.
Sadhana, service and skill set.
What's that?
Sadhana, service and skill set.
Okay. But what is the principle? What is the principle?
Training them.
Training people for what?
Training in Siddhanta and Sadachar.
Okay. Okay, any other principles? Okay. Creating festivities. For devotional life. What? Good. केशव के प्रभु कुछ तो बोलो.
Accountability systems for all departments and performance appraisal.
Okay, good point. Accountability. And appraisals. So how this application of this in ISKCON?
Yeah, we are book distribution price with them.
Oh, what about the first one?
Sadhana card.
What's that?
Sadhana card is there.
Oh, sadhana card.
Whenever a new center is coming, so there is a team divisions. One team will go and check whether everything's right. So they have systems. What is outpost? What is extension center?
Okay. Okay, there are teams.
Then for bureaus there to see financial things.
Okay, fine.
I just wanted to speak application from a common application. So one of the main what I am understanding is that leader must have a visible good character according to the Shastra, and he should speak and he should facilitate. Those points should be repeatedly focused in the classes and all. And the senior devotees, he should develop some group of senior devotees. They should strictly follow their all these teachings, imbibe this in their life. Then the rest who comes after them, they have some good role models to follow, and that's how all the principle can go on by the seeing the example of leader, and by the those principle focus in the classes, and having the some visible role model in the community.
Okay, good points. Yes, so both training and setting the right example. Yes, yes, both are very important. So one thing is training, and then one not only just trains and teaches others, but also sets the example. Then it will have good effects. Yes. Any other points you want to add? Okay, fine. So in this verse itself, there is one point. What is the point in this verse? The leader should be like father. So that means all these are covered. So father means overall he has to take care, na? In all aspects he is supposed to take care, not one-sided. So when one has that genuine concern, so father means what? Genuine care and concern for the dependents. That is the point that is being emphasized in this verse here, that Priyavrat Maharaj was like a father. So when that right attitude is there, that I have to care for these people who have been put under my care, I have to care for my dependents. So one must have the genuine care and concern. Then if one has the genuine care and concern, then everything will be taken care. So just like these days, they do a lot of devotee care programs, training programs. So Radha Gopinath Prabhu especially organizes so many of these devotee care training programs. But he was telling in one of those programs, he was telling that care can actually be given by one who cares. So seminar can be given, and somebody can hear the seminar also and make nice notes also. But who will implement? Who will implement? By one who cares. So if one doesn't have that caring attitude, then how much ever classes are given and how many ever seminars are given, it will simply remain on paper. Nothing is going to happen. So that is the significant point here, like a father. That means genuine care and concern. Then automatically so many things will follow when that correct attitude is there. So, in any case, as Janardhan Prabhu has referred to Prithu Maharaj section, so that is one of the best sections to talk about qualities of a good leader, because that is the purpose of Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj is especially empowered by what? Yes, Palan Shakti. His Shakti Vesh avatar. So therefore, the Lord himself gave very valuable instructions to Prithu Maharaj, and of course, Prithu Maharaj followed. So we are referring to 4th Canto, 20th chapter, text 13. So I don't know if you want to display it or what. any case, I'm reading. So he says, my dear Lord Vishnu himself is speaking. Lord Vishnu is speaking to Prithu Maharaj. My dear heroic king, please keep yourself always, or you want to connect this? You want to connect this? You have it then. Please keep yourself always equipoised and treat people equally, whether they're greater than you, in the intermediate stage, or lower than you. This is the first thing he says. Treat people equally. Be equipoised and treat people equally. That means no partiality, no bias. This is my friend, I'll give him little more Mahaprasad. Not like that. So, equally. So, especially for a leader to maintain that equal vision and non-biased nature is very important. Otherwise, the moment people sense bias, what will happen? What will happen? Yes, as soon as people sense bias, they will lose trust. And they will think, oh, this leader is not equal. Do not be disturbed by temporary distress or happiness. So because so many things will come in the life of a leader, sometimes happiness, sometimes distress, so many things will come. But he can't be disturbed, otherwise he can't function. Fully control your mind and senses. If the leader's mind and senses are not controlled, how will he help others to control? In this transcendental position, try to execute your duty as king in whatever condition of life you may be posted by my arrangement, for your only duty here is to give protection to the citizens of your kingdom. So Prabhupada begins the purport by saying, here is an example of receiving direct instruction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to execute the order of Lord Vishnu, whether receiving it directly from him or from his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. And then he's quoting Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Srila Vishnu Acharya Thakur states that one should not care very much whether he's going to be liberated or not, but he should simply execute the direct order received from the spiritual master. If one sticks to the principle of abiding by the order of the spiritual master, he will always remain in a liberated position. Please note this point. In another purport, Srila Prabhupada actually clarifies it even more. He puts it even more direct way, where he says that sometimes, where this comes, I think so this comes somewhere in the 6th canto. Any case, so, but there Srila Prabhupada writes, sometimes devotees question and have doubts whether the spiritual master is liberated or not. But this is the answer to that. Who's on the liberated platform? Who's on the liberated platform? One who sticks to the orders of the spiritual master. So that is what is most important. So liberated platform does not mean, Prabhupada is clarifying, liberated platform does not mean that he is not affected by the body. Because as long as body is there, the effects of the body will be there. Body is going to grow old. Along with old age, some symptoms of old age also will be there. Correct? So like we find sometimes Srila Prabhupada also forgets some verses, or make some mistakes in the verses. So if, one cannot ask, hey, what is this? I thought my spiritual master is on liberated platform. How is he making mistakes? No. Those things we should expect. But the most important thing is what? How he is fixed in following the instructions of his spiritual master. That is the most important. If one sticks to the principle of abiding by the order of the spiritual master, he will always remain in a liberated position. And then he's talking about how Vanashram Dharma. The word Bhaddha Sauruda in the previous verse explained here, but one can fully remain in intimate connection with the Supreme Lord directly or receive orders from his bona fide representative, spiritual master, and execute the orders sincerely when one keeps aloof from the activities of the body. The Lord helps us by giving us directions how to act in devotional service and thus advance on the path back home, back to Godhead. Acharya mam vijaniyan nava manyeta karhechit. Okay. Now in the next verse he says, to give protection, you show the next verse? 14, translation. Read.
To give protection to the general mass of people who are citizens of the state is the prescribed occupational duty for a king. By acting in that way, the king in his next life shares 1/6 of the result of the pious activities of the citizens. But a king or executive head of the state who simply collects taxes from the citizens but does not give them proper protection as human beings has the results of his own pious activities taken away by citizens, and in exchange for his not giving protection, he becomes liable to punishment for the impious activities of his subjects.
Okay, so it's a big responsibility. So if a leader only takes facilities, services, resources from the dependents, but in turn does not do his duty of giving protection. So in a Krishna conscious society, protection is at all levels: physical, emotional, spiritual, at all levels protection. So the duties have to be done. That is the most important thing. So even in the outside world, there are these two words: rights and responsibilities. Correct? People are very eager to get their rights. Otherwise they go on morcha. Strike. Our rights are not being fulfilled. Give us our rights. But before demanding rights, what one should do? Responsibilities have to be fulfilled. Then one has a right to demand rights. So here, that is what is being told. The king has a right to what? Yes, collect taxes. But then he has a responsibility to give protection. Otherwise, what will happen? Yes, sinful reactions. So, the same principle applies for any leader in any society. So, if one is simply taking services and engaging people, but if one is not doing one's duty, then one will have to face the reactions. Therefore, Prabhupada is writing here, the Brahmana must do his duty properly, and the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and even the Shudra must do the same. And every one of them can achieve the highest perfection of life, that is liberation from material bondage. Sve sve karmani abhirata samsindhim lavte nara. So, an executive head should not be callous to the welfare of the general mass of people while he simply goes on collecting taxes. The king's real duty is to see that the citizens gradually become fully Krishna conscious. This is the duty. To see that the people are becoming fully Krishna conscious. So whatever is required to help people become Krishna conscious, that needs to be done. And Krishna conscious means completely free from all sinful activities. That is what is required. So the proper training, education, and all that is required to make people Krishna conscious. If a king or a head of the government is able to induce the citizens to become Krishna conscious, then he is worthy to rule over the mass of people. Otherwise, he has no right to levy taxes. If the king looks after the spiritual interests of the citizens, he can levy taxes without difficulties. So the main interest is what? Spiritual interests. If he is able to look after spiritual interests, he can levy taxes without difficulties. In this way, both the subjects and the king will be happy during this life, and in the next life, the king will be able to share 1/6 of the pious activities of the citizens. Otherwise, by levying taxes on the sinful citizens, he will have to share the reactions of the sinful activities. And then Prabhupada writes a very important point. The same principle can be applied to parents and spiritual masters as well. If the parents simply give birth to children like cats and dogs, but cannot save their children from imminent death, they become responsible for the activities of the animalistic children. Lately, such children are turning to hippies. Similarly, if a spiritual master cannot direct his disciples to become free of sinful activities, he becomes responsible for the sinful acts. These subtle laws of nature are unknown to the present leaders of society. And therefore, there's constant tension, war, anxiety. Now, the next verse, another very important point. Read.
Lord Vishnu continued, My dear King Prithu, if you continue to protect the citizens according to the instruction of learned Brahmana authority, as they are received by disciplic succession, by hearing from spiritual master to disciple, and if you follow the religious principle laid down by them without attachment to ideas manufactured by mental concoction, then every one of your citizens will be happy and will love you, and very soon you will be able to see such a already liberated personalities as the four Kumaras.
So here, what is the important principle here? Yes, following the Brahmana authorities, instructions of the learned Brahmana authorities by hearing from master to disciple. And not doing what? Mental concoction. Mental concoction. So therefore, it's a great responsibility on the part of the leaders to know what are the instructions that the previous acharyas have given. So we ourselves don't know what are the instructions. We don't read the books. We don't know what are the instructions. Then how can we impart the instructions to others? So therefore, for leaders, it's very important. In our society, it's very important for leaders to know all of Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Srila Prabhupada has given so many instructions in so many different subject matters. So how many of you have seen the book Shikshamritam? A few of you have seen. You have seen or read also? Only seen, darshan. So there are instructions on every subject. Every subject there are instructions. So if there are any doubts, we should refer to that and not concoct. Maybe this is correct, maybe that is correct. No, go to the instructions. What instructions Prabhupada has given, not concoction or clarify. So everything has to be done in a very authorized way. So the leader himself should know the instructions properly. That is what he should teach others. So he himself should follow, he should teach others, and there should be nothing based on mental concoction. These are all very important principles. Then what will happen? Then what will be the result? Yes. Everyone wants subordinates to be happy, correct? Everyone wants subordinates to be happy. This is the way. Because, see, it is, I'm a poor conditioned soul. What is my ability to keep other souls happy? It is not within my hands. Who can actually make them happy? Only Krishna can make them happy. And when Krishna will do that? Yes, when the leader follows Krishna, then Krishna is also situated in the hearts of the subordinates, then he will keep them happy. Therefore, the principle is samsiddhir haritoshanam. That is the most important point. So if the leader is pleasing Krishna, then Krishna will keep the subordinates happy. That is how it works. So that is why here the Lord himself is saying very clearly. So the leader himself should follow, and that is what he should propagate. When he properly follows the principles given by the Brahmanas, by the Acharyas, and then he follows them, he helps others to follow, the Lord is pleased by that, then all the citizens will be happy and will love you. And then one will get association of great personalities. then one will be in the proper association and make spiritual progress. So all these are very important principles. So here Prabhupada is writing, it is essential, therefore, to follow the instructions of the acharyas in the parampara system, who have received the knowledge as passed down from spiritual master to disciple. In this way, although living in our material condition of life, we can get out of the entanglement of material contamination without leaving our positions. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises, therefore, that one does not have to change his position. This is Sthani Sthita Shrutigata. One simply has to hear from the perfect source, this is called Parampara, and follow the principles for practical application in life. Thus, one can attain the highest perfection of life liberation and go back home, back to Godhead. In other words, see the very important point. In other words, the change required is a change in consciousness, not in the body. The main thing that needs to change is the consciousness. Okay, and then he's praising the king for his elevated qualities and excellent behavior. This is what the Lord is pleased by. So the Lord is saying here, one who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor. So that is why that is most important for the leader. So the leader, first of all, has to please the Supreme Lord by elevated qualities and behavior, by developing that. That is the only thing that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, right? Which chapter? Yes, 12th chapter, last section, 13 to 20. Krishna has given a big list of qualities by which he will be pleased. So here also, Lord Vishnu, same thing he's saying. There's no difference, same thing. You want to please the Lord? Develop these qualities and behavior. That is what will please the Lord. And he's saying what he is not pleased by, one who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, mystic yoga. So all these things cannot impress the Lord. But the only thing that he'll be pleased by is the qualities and behavior. But always remain equipoised in the heart of one who is also equipoised in all circumstances. Yes, the spirit soul as part and parcel of Supreme Personality, all the good qualities of the Lord. When the spirit soul is contaminated by the material modes of nature, one is considered good or bad with reference to material qualities. But when one is transcendental to all material qualities, all the good qualities come out. So the main thing is to be freed from the material contamination. Then all the qualities will come. And then Prabhupada is giving the whole list of 26 qualities. Okay, fine. Any questions on this subject matter? Yes, bro.
Like Prabhuji, when we read about such sections or when we come across such pastimes, then we also understand that this is a way the trust is developed both between the authorities and the subordinates. So like yesterday also we were discussing about faithlessness. So when we come across such situations, when the faith is checked or trust is checked, and we are also hearing classes, we are reading, and we know that some principles are not followed because not everybody is perfect. This is a very perfect situation of Prithu Maharaj. So how to reconcile such situations and also keep our faith so that our faith is not disturbed, and how to reconcile the events that are happening or the situations that we come across, because these things affect our faith, our practices. So what could be the practical approach?
Okay. So first thing, as you said, no one is perfect. So everyone is trying. So till one comes to the point of perfectly pure devotee, then everyone is a sadhaka, everyone is trying. So we cannot expect perfection from our authorities. That would be unrealistic to expect perfection. So they're also sincerely trying. So when we see that they are also sincerely trying, then we have to give the benefit of doubt. But what we need to do is to follow. If I follow because that person has been given that service, so therefore my business is to follow, as long as I'm told to follow. If he is deviating in such a way that he becomes unqualified to do the service, then that is the business of his higher authorities to do the needful. It is not my business. As long as his authorities keep him in that position, then if I am subordinate, it is my business to follow. Of course, if there are some serious deviations, discrepancies, I can report. I can report in a detached way. That I can do. But till that point of time, I'm told to follow, I should follow. Then I will progress. Then I will progress. If I say I don't have faith, because this person is doing this, I don't have faith, so I will not follow, then I will be the loser. See, he is being allowed to do his service by his authorities, correct? He's being allowed. So if I'm not pleased with the service, I can go to his authorities and give complaint. But they are still keeping him in the service. Then what I should do? I have to follow. So this principle has to be followed. So if I don't follow this principle of subordination and submission, then I become the loser. So what wrong things that person is doing, how will that affect my devotional service? That will affect his devotional service. How will it affect my devotional service? So in just like in another place, one brahmachari was complaining to me. He was saying, see, this person in authority position is misusing money, this, that. So I said, how does it affect your devotional service? No, it affects because the faith is disturbed. Okay, then you go and complain to his authorities. You go and complain. But then they are not doing anything. They are okay with his service. And what is your problem? So therefore, there is no need of unnecessarily interfering in somebody else's service. One of the main problems is the conditioned soul wants to be, as Srila Prabhupada often used the phrase, be the Lord of all I survey. I want to control everything and everyone. Do your part, Baba. There's no need. What is most important to see is whether I am following properly, I am doing the right thing. That is what is most important. Chant Hare Krishna, be happy. Give the mic.
If somebody is not elevated, they cannot accept and follow it because it's creating some unnecessary agitation. It's not everyone can accept and then follow. Somebody is not like newly joined. If they see, they will bewilder actually by seeing this step. So how they will be helped?
So everyone requires training. Therefore, everyone requires training. So therefore, it is not the business of everyone to comment on everyone else. This is the problem these days. The problem these days is, thanks to the internet and all these things, everyone comments on everything and everyone. Correct? Everyone feels he has the right. So the newly joined devotee also, he thinks he has the right to comment on the GBC. What is his adhikar? He has no adhikar. So this is the problem. So why? Because the proper training has not been given, because there is no Gurukul training, all that, no training. So therefore, people come from the outside world with all this material education, which gives so much of pride. The person thinks, I'm so highly educated, I'm so highly qualified. Why can't I comment on anything and everything? He thinks it is my right. That is a problem.
Newly joined state is coming to for training only. In the state, he did not get training. So that stage I am asking.
So that time he is if he is bewildered by seeing something, then he should consult his seniors, whoever his immediate seniors are. Yeah, some guide, counselor, whoever that may be, he should consult that person. Okay, he is getting bewildered seeing the behavior of someone, then he should consult and find out what should be the proper mood. You see. Chicken. Anything else? What's that?
Roji, as a leader, when to take responsibility and when to be detached from subordinates? What point of time one should detach?
Detached. What does it mean to become detached?
Yes, could you be devotee, any clarification?
What does it mean to become detached?
Hare Krishna Guruji. We try to take the responsibility of them and try our best to train and all, but in case if months pass and years pass, then we don't see the change, or then we feel like, okay, becoming detached.
That's what I'm asking. What does it mean to become detached?
Means allowing him to go on his own way and then not taking responsibility of.
So who allowed you to give up the responsibility?
No one project.
Then how can one do that? If you have been given some responsibility to guide and train someone, then how can you just whimsically give up the responsibility? Okay, refer to 5th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 15. We are proceeding ahead now. This is the last point. Somebody read the translation. 5th canto, 5th chapter, text 15. Or whoever is asking that question only can read. So that devotee who was asking question, you tell him to read.
Okay. Sure. Read, bro.
Yes, bro. If one is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, he must consider the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the summum bonum and chief aim of life. If he is a father instructing his sons, a spiritual master instructing his disciples, or a king instructing his citizens, he must instruct them as I have advised. Without being angry, he should continue giving instructions.
Without being angry, he should continue to give instructions. He can't give up the responsibility. As long as the responsibility is there, one has to take the responsibility very seriously. You cannot just whimsically give up. So even if the subordinate is not following, the responsible person has to continue to give instructions. See, everyone has to do their respective duties. This is the point that is stressed in Shastra. Duty. Duties have to be done. So the superior's duty is to what? Give instructions. And subordinate's duty is to follow instructions. Everyone has to do their respective duties, then everything will go smoothly. So therefore, Lord Rishabhdev is telling, without getting angry, he should continue to give instructions. Not that, he is not following, get out. No, not like that. Very patiently, he has to continue to give instructions. All right, no?
Yes, Puji. Thank you.
Even if his disciple, son or citizen is sometimes unable to follow his order. Right? So one cannot whimsically give up the responsibility. So if somebody is really creating trouble, one should consult higher authorities and do the needful. But one cannot whimsically give up responsibility. All right, no?
Yes, Puji.
Okay, fine. So now we are proceeding ahead in the pastime of Maharaj Agnidra. Okay, read the translation for the second verse.
Desiring to get a perfect son, become an inhabitant of Pitraloka, Maharaj Agnidra once worshipped Lord Brahma, the master of those in charge of material creation. He went to a valley of Mandara hill, where the damsels of heavenly planets come down to stroll. There he collected garden flowers and other necessary paraphernalia, and then engaged in severe austerities and worship.
Okay, so here, so this Maharaj Agnidra, what he wanted? Perfect son and become inhabitant of Pitriloka. So this is very funny, right? He is son of Priyavrat Maharaj, who was a pure devotee, and he wants to go to Pitriloka. So the question is raised by Srila Prabhupada in the second paragraph. Since Maharaj Priyavrat was a great devotee, how could he have begotten a son who desired to be transferred to Pitriloka? So the answer is what? Since Maharaj Agnidra was the son of a Vaishnava, he should have desired to be transferred to spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka. Why then did he desire to be transferred to Pitriloka? In answer to this, Goswami Giridhara, one of the Bhagavatam commentators, remarks that Agnidra was born when Maharaj Priyavrat was infatuated by lusty desires. You see how much effect this has? So that's why Prabhupada would often speak about what? Garbhadan Sanskar. Here also he speaks. This may be accepted as a fact because sons are begotten with different mentalities according to the time of their conception. So therefore, before child is conceived, Garbhadan Sanskar is important. So then the ceremony molds the mentality of the father in such a way that when he plants a seed in the womb of his wife, he will beget a child whose mind will be completely saturated with a devotional attitude. But nowadays, no Garbhadan Sanskar. And so therefore, people generally have a lusty attitude when they beget children. And so then, who is born? Cat or dog? Okay, go ahead. Third.
Understanding King Agnidra's desire, the first and most powerful created being of this universe, Lord Brahma, selected the best of the dancing girls in his assembly, whose name was Purvachitti, and sent her to the king.
So Brahma understood the desire of Agnidra. So Prabhupada writes, in this verse, however, we see that Lord Brahma is described as Bhagavan Adi Purusha. The reason he is called Bhagavan is that he fully represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is the firstborn creature in this universe. Lord Brahma could understand Maharaj Agnidra's desire because he is as powerful as Lord Vishnu. As Lord Vishnu, situated as Paramatma, can understand the desire of the living entity, so Lord Brahma can also understand the living entity's desire, for Vishnu as a vaya medium informs him. Brahma is not Paramatma. But what happens? Paramatma informs him about the desires of the living entities. And then he quotes Tene Brahma Ridhaya Adi Kavaye. Lord Vishnu informs Lord Brahma of everything from within his heart. And the same principle also applies to Yamaraj. In the 6th canto, there also the point comes. How Yamaraj knows about all the activities, the karma of all the living. He is not Paramatma. How he knows? Paramatma informs him. So they have that special connection with the Paramatma. They're highly empowered. And as you just said, similarly, who knows? The spiritual master also knows. Paramatma informs him whenever required. Many times disciples have doubts, especially these days, spiritual masters having thousands of disciples. Disciples have doubts. Does my spiritual master know about me, my service, what I'm doing? But the answer is this. And if you want a perfect reference for this, I will give it to you. But before that, let me speak some background. So, you know, there's Rama Ekadashi. You know? At least you should know. You know when it is.
I don't know the exact date.
It cannot be exact date. Every year it will change. But
one of the exact when it comes.
One of the Ekadashi we know. It's the first Ekadashi of Kartik. In the Kartik month, first Ekadashi is Rama Ekadashi. So what is the significance of this in ISKCON history? Anybody knows? Somebody wants to make a wild guess? No harm in guessing. No? Huh? Good. Now you have made your name Sarthak. Yes, the Chaitanya Charitamrita was completed on this day. So now you can open the concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So on every Rama Ekadashi, His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, practically on every Ekadashi, I think so, he gives a lecture. And his lecture is on those concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Maharaj was personally present in Juhu when that pastime took place. So Maharaj tells this pastime. So on that particular day, early in the morning, so every morning Srila Prabhupada would get up to go for his morning walk. But on that particular day, Srila Prabhupada didn't get up. So Giriraj Maharaj was worried, what happened? Prabhupada didn't come. So he went up to his room, the door was locked from inside, lights off. So then besides Prabhupada's room was his servant's room. So he knocked on the door. So that room also, light was off, door locked. But anyway, the servant got up. He maybe opened the door a little bit. And so Giriraj Maharaj, what happened? Why Srila Prabhupada didn't get up? And the servant told, last night Srila Prabhupada has just completed the translations to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he is in a state of great ecstasy. That was the answer he got. So in any case, so this is the concluding words, and it's very beautiful. So we can read. Somebody can read. Here it is said Rama Ekadashi. It's Rama or Rama?
Rama.
It's Rama, right? Huh?
Rama.
Yes.
Today, Sunday, November 10, 1974, corresponding to the 10th of Kartik Chaitanya era 488, the 11th day of the dark fortnight, the Rama Ekadashi, we have now finished the English translation of Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in accordance with the authorized order of His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj, my beloved eternal spiritual master, guide and friend. Although according to material vision, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada passed away from the material world on the last day of December 1936, I still consider His Divine Grace to be always present with me by His Vani, His words. There are two ways of association, by Vani and by Vapu. Vani means words, and Bapu means physical presence. Physical presence is sometimes appreciable and sometimes not. But Vani continues to exist eternally. Therefore, we must take advantage of the Vani, not the physical presence. The Bhagavad Gita, for example, is the Vani of Lord Krishna. Although Krishna was personally present 5,000 years ago and is no longer physically present, from the materialistic point of view, the Bhagavad Gita continues. In this connection, we may call to memory the time when I was fortunate enough to meet His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada sometime in the year 1922. Srila Prabhupada had come to Calcutta from Sridham Mayapur to start the missionary activities of the Gaudiya Math. He was sitting in a house at Ultadanga when, through the inducement of an intimate friend, the late Srimad Narendranath Malik, I had the opportunity to meet His Divine Grace for the first time.
Anybody has seen the renovated place? Very beautiful. Go ahead.
I had the opportunity to meet His Divine Grace for the first time. I do not remember the actual date of the meeting, but at that time I was one of the managers of Dr. Bose Laboratory in Calcutta. I was newly married young man addicted to Gandhi's movement and dressed in khadi. Fortunately, even at our first meeting, His Divine Grace advised me to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in English in the Western countries. Because at that time, I was a complete nationalist, a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. I submitted to His Divine Grace that unless our country were freed from the foreign subjugation, no one would hear the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seriously. Of course, we had some argument on this subject, but at last I was defeated and convinced that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message is the only panacea for suffering humanity. I was also convinced that the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was then in the hands of a very expert devotee, and that surely the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would spread all over the world. I could not, however, immediately take up the instructions to preach, but I took his words very seriously and was always thinking of how to execute his order, although I was quite unfit to do so. In this way, I passed my life as a householder until 1950, when I retired from family life as a Vanaprastha. With no companion, I loitered here and there until 1958, when I took sannyas. Then I was completely ready to discharge the order of my spiritual master. Previously, in 1936, just before His Divine Grace passed away at Jagannath Puri, I wrote him a letter asking what I could do to serve him. In reply, he wrote me a letter dated 13 December 1936, ordering me in the same way to preach in English the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as I had heard it from him. After he passed away, I started the fortnightly magazine Back to Godhead sometime in 1944 and tried to spread the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the magazine. After I took sannyas, a well-wishing friend suggested that I write books instead of magazines. Magazines, he said, might be thrown away, but books remain perpetually. Then I attempted to write Srimad Bhagavatam. Before that, when I was a householder, I had written on Srimad Bhagavad Gita and had completed about 1100 pages, but somehow or the other, the manuscript was stolen. In any case, when I had published Srimad Bhagavatam first canto in 3 volumes in India, I thought of going to the USA. By the mercy of His Divine Grace, I was able to come to New York on September 17, 1965. Since then, I have translated many books, including Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, a summary, and many others. In the meantime, I was induced to translate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and publish it in an elaborate version. In his leisure time in later life, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would simply read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It was his favorite book. He used to say that there would be a time when foreigners would learn the Bengali language to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The work on this translation began about 18 months ago. Now, by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it is finished. In this connection, I have to thank my American disciples, especially Shriman Pradyumna Das Adhikari, Shriman Nitai Das Adhikari, Shriman Jayadvaita Das Brahmachari, and many other boys and girls who are sincerely helping me in writing, editing, and publishing in all these literatures. I think that
so this is the significant point in connection to our discussion.
I think that His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is always seeing my activities and guiding me within my heart by His words. As it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kabaye. Spiritual inspiration comes from within the heart, wherein the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature is always sitting with all His devotees and associates. It is to be admitted that whatever translation work I have done is through the inspiration of my spiritual master, because personally I am most insignificant and incompetent to do this materially impossible work. I do not think myself a very learned scholar, but I have full faith in the service of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If there is any credit to my activities of translating, it is all due to His Divine Grace. Certainly, if His Divine Grace were physically present at this time, it would have been a great occasion for jubilation. But even though He is not physically present, I am confident that He is very much pleased by the work of translation. He was very fond of seeing many books published to spread the Krishna conscious movement. Therefore, our society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, has been formed to execute the work of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and His Divine Grace, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It is my wish that devotees of Lord Chaitanya all over the world enjoy this translation, and I am glad to express my gratitude to the learned men in Western countries who are so pleased with my work. They are ordering in advance all my books that will be published in the future. On this occasion, therefore, I request my disciples who are determined to help me in this work to continue their cooperation fully, so that philosophers, scholars, religionists, and people in general all over the world will benefit by reading our transcendental literatures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yes, November 10, 1974, at the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Hare Krishna Land, Juhu, Bombay. So that is a significant point. You can go once again. So you see here also Prabhupada is quoting the same thing. Tene Brahmaradaya Adi Kavaya. Same thing in this purport also. And that's what he writes. So His Divine Grace is always seeing my activities and guiding me within my heart by His words. And so, spiritual inspiration comes from within the heart, wherein the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature is always sitting with all His devotees and associates, including the spiritual masters. They're always there with the Paramatma. So therefore, we can see that how this entire endeavor of Srila Prabhupada is fully empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and all the acharyas. So therefore, we should not take these books as ordinary. There is a lot of empowerment within the words of these books. We should not consider them to be ordinary. You can see that. So therefore, so the important point is, the spiritual master also knows everything about the disciples. The Paramatma will inform as and when required. Just like He does for Brahma and Yamaraj and all these elevated personalities. And of course, we can tell so many different pastimes. But in connection to the Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, how the Paramatma inspires to fulfill the desires of his pure devotees is very beautifully illustrated in this whole pastime of the publishing and the printing of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'm sure many of us know the pastime. When on the morning walk, Srila Prabhupada was going with Rameshwar Prabhu at that time, Swami, and his assistant Radha Vallabh Prabhu. And of course, Srila Prabhupada, before coming to Los Angeles itself, he had got the background of how fast the printing was going on. And so on that morning walk, so he was asking Rameshwar Prabhu, so how much time you are taking to print one book? And Rameshwar Prabhu says, normally we take 2 months for one book. Now we have increased the speed to 1 book per month. And Srila Prabhupada begins calculating. So there were 15 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita and 2 volumes of the 5th canto pending. Prabhupada has finished translation, not yet printed. And so total 17 volumes. So Srila Prabhupada is calculating 1 month per book. That means 17 months. Prabhupada is very slow. And then Srila Prabhupada says, I want all the 17 volumes printed in 2 months. Think about it. 17 months to 2 months. So Rameshwar Prabhu, when he hears that, he thinks, did I hear properly or? Srila Prabhupada, what? 17 volumes in 2 months. When he heard that, he could not move. He was stunned. So, and then he said, impossible. And Srila Prabhupada replied with, impossible is a word in the fool's dictionary. And Srila Prabhupada went ahead, he walked. Radha Vallabh Prabhu and Rameshwar Prabhu could not move, they stood there. And then Rameshwar Prabhu describes, this is not given in any book, but then he describes in his classes that how at that time, as he was stunned and he stood and he was thinking, how is it going to be possible? He describes his realization at that time. He says, if I think it is impossible, that means I'm saying something is impossible for Krishna. So what can be impossible for Krishna? That was his realization. So as soon as he surrendered to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada and gave up that idea that it is impossible, immediately the Paramatma inspired him with so many ideas as to how it can be made possible. And that is how they immediately returned back to the temple, immediately had a meeting with all the BBT staff, and they discussed on how to make it possible. And then, of course, everything is history, unheard of. Such a history is unheard of in Gaudiya Vaishnavism or in the printing of any literature or anywhere. Unheard of. And these devotees made night and day one. And not only that, the entire temple cooperated for this marathon, the entire Los Angeles temple. So the temple president, he made arrangements so that these BBT devotees could focus their entire attention on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so their laundry was taken care, their prasadam was taken care. They didn't have to do anything, just focus on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's how everyone cooperated for that service. So there are quite a few pastimes in this connection, but I'll just tell one to show that how the Paramatma, he inspires. That's what Srila Prabhupada is talking about here, how Paramatma inspires, so that the desires of the pure devotees are fulfilled. So what was happening was that Srila Prabhupada had given instructions that so many paintings had to be there within the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm forgetting the exact number, but quite a few paintings he wanted. And so there were 3 or 4 artists who were full-time engaged in this painting work. And they were doing it day and night. So one devotee would be painting, and at some point he would be so tired, he would fall asleep. So Rameshwar Prabhu was coordinating and managing the whole thing. So when one painter would fall asleep, so that time is not wasted, if another painter was awake, he would tell him to complete the painting. This is intolerable to the painters, because they have some sense of ownership that, I have done this painting. So usually, and they have their own ideas and things, they don't like anybody else interfering. But Rameshwar Prabhu is doing this just so that the service gets done. And devotees. You may have seen on some of the paintings, the name of the painter is signed. One of the very famous painters within ISKCON was Pushkar Prabhu. You can see his name on some of the paintings. So I'm taking his name because Rameshwar Prabhu took the name, so I'm taking. So this Pushkar Prabhu had done one painting, and so he fell asleep, and then Rameshwar Prabhu told another painter to do the paint. This happened at night. So morning, Pushkar Prabhu woke up and he saw his painting is completed by somebody else. And when he saw that, he was wild. And so in the morning, Rameshwar Prabhu and Radhavalla Prabhu, they just come to their office, and this Pushkar Prabhu, he was coming towards Rameshwar Prabhu's office in a state of great anger. Rameshwar Prabhu describes his eyes were exactly red like the eyes of Lord Narasimhadev. You have seen the eyes of Lord Narasimhadev, Mayapur? They're red, actually red. He says his eyes were like that. And he was coming in a state of great anger to punch Rameshwar Prabhu. And Rameshwar Prabhu and Radhaval Prabhu were watching, totally bewildered and wondering what to do now. There was nothing to be done. They had to face it. And Rameshwar Prabhu, he knew perfectly well why he is so angry. He knew that. And so he was getting mentally prepared to face it. He knew what would happen. And he was coming, and he came close close, and as he was coming very close, and Rameshwar Prabhu and Radhavalla Prabhu both were preparing for the inevitable, all of a sudden, the hand which was supposed to hit the face went towards the feet. And he fell flat at the feet of Rameshwar Prabhu. And both of them stood, they embraced, and they cried. That's all. That's all. Nothing was needed to be spoken. Because they knew that they were all rendering service for only one reason. That is, pleasing Srila Prabhupada. So Rameshwar Prabhu says how that transformation took place. There's only one reason. The Paramatma. The Paramatma within the heart changed his attitude. And such a transformation took place. So that is how the Paramatma acts. And so there are so many very interesting pastimes during that 2 months marathon in the sprinting of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So when this marathon was going on, they were so absorbed in the service. And in that absorption, because it is Krishna's service, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's service, they are just remembering Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all the time. So Rameshwar Prabhu says, when they finished the 17 volumes, they felt this marathon should go on eternally. Because it gave them such transcendental ecstasy in the service because of their full absorption. So that is how everything is being orchestrated by the Supreme Lord, just for glorifying Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee. Such amazing things. I'll just tell you another pastime in brief. So, sometime later, Rameshwar Prabhu had a desire to print and distribute 1 million Bhagavad Gitas. 1 million. So he had that desire for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. He didn't know from where the money is going to come, how it is going to happen, but he expressed that desire to Srila Prabhupada. Very sincere desire. So what happened was at the Los Angeles Temple Sunday feast, so new people would come for the Sunday feast, and usually each devotee would sit near one of these new people and preach to them as they were honoring prasadam. So on one such Sunday feast, Rameshwar Prabhu saw a nice, well-dressed young gentleman. So he sat beside him to preach to him, and as he took prasad. So he finished his prasad and he washed his hands and he said, can I offer you some gift? Okay, fine. So he went outside and he got a new briefcase. And he gave it as a gift to Rameshwar Prabhu. It's okay. So he accepted, he took it. And then at the end of the day, he went back to his apartment close by. He took the briefcase with him. And so just before, it was 9:30 p.m., just before sleeping, he thought, let me just open the briefcase and see what is there. So he opened the briefcase and he was just stunned. It was filled, totally filled with dollar notes. Actually, if you're not believing what we are saying, I have recorded these pastimes which Rameshwar Prabhu spoke. Actually, I have it here. So he immediately called his authority, and he told him, you have to come over to my place. So he said, for what, at this time? He said, no, it's very urgent, you please come. And so he came, and then he saw this huge amount of money. And immediately the next early morning, they went to the bank. They had not even counted how much it was. They went to the bank, and in the bank they counted. He says they had to use some 30 counting machines to count all those notes. So they counted all that money, huge amount of money, and on the spot they transferred it to the printers to print all those 1 million copies on the spot. And now there was another challenge. Now the printers, okay, they're ready to print, but if they want immediately, they have other orders also of other books from other authors, very famous authors. Now they have to stop all the other printing to only print Bhagavad Gita. I think they wanted to print before this Christmas marathon or something like that. So there was some time frame in which they had to finish that printing. So now why these famous authors and all the other writers will keep their things pending? This is again another work of the Paramatma. Just to fulfill the desires of these devotees and glorify Srila Prabhupada. So somehow these printers were convinced to postpone all their other printing. And the other writers and authors, they were also somehow convinced to keep their work pending. And those printers just took up the printing of Bhagavad Gita to print all those millions of copies. So these are all incredible pastimes that have taken place within the ISKCON society, just for glorifying Srila Prabhupada. So these are just a few of the unlimited such pastimes that have taken place. So why? Because Krishna wants to glorify his pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada wanted to glorify Krishna, and Krishna wants to glorify his pure devotee. So therefore, this is how the Paramatma acts from within the heart. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, fine, we'll take a break and continue. Hare Krishna. Sleep. So-called yogis sometimes practice fashionable form of yoga by closing their eyes and meditating, but we have actually seen such so-called yogis sleeping and snoring while meditating. Prabhupada in lecture actually makes sound also. This is not practice of yoga. To actually practice yoga, one should keep his eyes half open and gaze at the tip of his nose. But now Agnidra saw something else also besides tip of the nose. So, and then Srila Prabhupada quotes the famous verse, Durdantendriya kala sarpa patali protkatadam sraite. The practice of yoga is undoubtedly good because it controls the senses which are like venomous serpents. When one engages in devotional service, however, completely employing all the activities of the sense in the service of the Lord, the venomous quality of the senses is completely nullified. See what Prabhupada is writing. Devotees therefore may see hundreds and thousands of beautiful women with fascinating bodily movements and gestures, but not be allured. Whereas such women would make ordinary yogis fall. What to speak of ordinary yogis? Even advanced yogi Vishra broke his mystic practice to unite with Menaka and beget a child known as Shakuntala. You see Prabhupada's confidence in the process of devotional service. Huh? He's saying devotees can see hundreds and thousands and yet not be allured. And that is the power of devotional service actually. If one strictly follows, that is the power. So when Srila Prabhupada went to Paris, so Paris is known for very beautiful women. And that particular hall where the program was arranged, so somehow all around there were photos of many beautiful women. And all the brahmacharis and sannyasis, they were covering their heads and looking down. But it made no difference to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was just looking everywhere, walking, totally unaffected. Okay, next.
Like a honeybee, the Apsara smelled the beautiful and attractive flowers. She could attract the minds and vision of both humans and demigods by her playful movements, her shyness and humility, her glances, the very pleasing sounds that poured from her mouth as she spoke, and the motion of her limbs. By these qualities, she opened for Cupid, who bears an arrow of flowers, a path of oral reception into the minds of men. When she spoke, nectar seemed to flow from her mouth. As she breathed, the bees, mad for the taste of her breath, tried to hover about her beautiful lotus like eyes. Disturbed by the bees, she tried to move hastily, but as she raised her feet to walk quickly, her hair, the belt on her hips, and her breasts, which were like water jugs, also moved in a way that made her extremely beautiful and attractive. Indeed, she seemed to be making a path for the entrance of Cupid, who is most beautiful. Therefore, the prince, completely subdued by seeing her, spoke to her as follows.
In one lecture, Srila Prabhupada says, so when the devotee sees women, then he thinks that they are Krishna's property. They are Krishna's gopis, for Krishna's enjoyment, not my own. So that is the perception of a devotee when he sees women. Or one must see as mother. But in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada says like this. And so Prabhupada explains that how on the heavenly planets, the beautiful bodily features of women there are thousands and thousands of times more attractive than the features of women on earth. And actually in Vaikuntha and in Goloka, they're even more beautiful. So you can just imagine. Actually, we can't imagine. So further down, Prabhupada is writing, when one is controlled by Cupid or the beauty of women, he becomes stunned like matter such as stone. Captivated by the material movements of women, he wants to remain in this material world. Thus, one's promotion to the spiritual world is checked simply by seeing the beautiful bodily structure and movements of women. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore warned all devotees to beware of the attraction of beautiful women and materialistic civilization. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even refused to see Prataprudra Maharaj because he was a very opulent person in the material world. Lord Chaitanya said in this connection, Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajano Mukasya. Aage kya? Yeah, it is there. Nishkinchanasya bhagavad bhajanonmukasya param param jigamishor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishayinam matayoshitam cha ahanta hanta vishabhakshana topya sadhu. Alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendent loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification or seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. One who is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, should not contemplate the attractive features of women and the opulence of rich men. Please note these two things, as we read the other day also. Women and wealth are great stumbling blocks for a person wanting to advance on the spiritual path. So therefore, one should not contemplate on these two things, the attractive features of women and the opulence of rich men. Such contemplation will check one's advancement in spiritual life. Once a devotee is fixed in Krishna consciousness, however, these attractions will not agitate his mind. So one has to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. That means at least at the stage of Nishta, Ruchi. When one comes to that stage, then one will not be attracted. But otherwise, of course, at all times one has to be careful in the material world. Material energy is always very powerful. But yes. Okay, now you can pass the mic. Now, Agnidra is speaking to the Apsara.
The prince mistakenly addressed the Apsara. O best of saintly persons, who are you? Why are you on this hill and what do you want to do? Are you one of the illusory potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? You seem to be carrying two bows without strings. What is the reason you carry these bows? Is it for some purpose of your own or for the sake of a friend? Perhaps you carry them to kill the mad animals in this forest.
Okay, so he's addressing her as Munivarya, saintly person. So, seeing the beauty of this Purvachati, he has apparently lost his sense of discrimination. Prabhupada writes that, yes. When one becomes lusty, he loses intelligence. Therefore, Agnidra, having lost his intelligence, could not distinguish whether Purvachati was male or female. So he mistook her for Muniputra, the son of a saintly person in the forest, and addressed her as Munivarya. Because of her personal beauty, however, he could not believe her to be a boy. He therefore began studying her features. So further on, Prabhupada writes, the material world is certainly created by Maya, but it is created under the direction of Paradevata, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Maya is not ultimate authority for the creation of this material world, Maya acts on behalf of Krishna. Purvachati's eyebrows were so beautiful that Agnidra compared them to bows without strings. And so in the third canto, Lord Kapila says, therefore one should not look at the eyebrows of a woman, because then they captivate. He therefore asked her whether they were to be used for her own purposes or for the sake of someone else. Her eyebrows were like bows meant to kill animals in the forest. This material world is a great forest, and its inhabitants are like forest animals. This forest of material enjoyment, we read that. The killers are the eyebrows of beautiful women. Captivated by the beauty of the fair sex, all the men of the world are killed by bows without strings, but cannot see how they are killed by Maya. It is a fact, however, that they are being killed. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. So yes, pumsa striya mithuni bhava metam tayor mitho ritaya grantimahu. So everyone in this material world is captivated by sex life, and that is the cause for bhutva bhutva praliyate. Again and again, they're born, they're dead. By dint of his tapasya, Agnidra could understand. See, Agnidra was not ignorant fool. Therefore, he is saying, who are you? Are you the external energy? That means he knows about external energy. So therefore, by dint of his tapasya, Agnidra could understand how Maya acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But still, one may theoretically know, but if one is not careful, then one becomes a victim. Then he is describing Pramatta, Prahlad Maharaj. Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udvataho Vimuda. So, karmis who act very seriously for sense gratification are always referred to in Shastras by such terms as pramatta, vimukha, vimudha. They're killed by Maya. However, one who is apramatta, a sane, sober person, a dhira, knows very well that a human being's primary duty is to render service to the Supreme Person. Maya is always ready to kill those who are pramatta with her invisible bows and arrows. Agnidra questioned Purvachitti about this. Next.
Then Agnidra observed the glancing eyes of Purvachitti and said, "My dear friend, you have two very powerful arrows, namely your glancing eyes. Those arrows have feathers like the petals of a lotus flower. Although they have no shafts, they are very beautiful and they have very sharp piercing points. They appear very peaceful, and thus it seems that they will not be shot at anyone. You must be loitering in this forest to shoot those arrows at someone, but I cannot understand whom. My intelligence is dull, and I cannot combat you. Indeed, no one can equal you in prowess, and therefore I pray that your prowess will be for my good fortune."
So Prabhupada writes that he hoped that her glances upon him would be favorable. That is why he's describing all this. That is his goal. Because he was already captivated, and the more captivated he became, the more impossible it would be for him to remain without her. Agnidra therefore prayed to Purvachitti that her glances at him would be auspicious, not futile. In other words, he prayed that she would become his wife. So that was the ultimate goal, but all this is simply external words he's speaking. Okay, proceed.
Seeing the bumblebees following Purvachitti, Maharaj Agnidra said, "My dear Lord, the bumblebees surrounding your body are like disciples surrounding your worshipable self. They are incessantly chanting the mantras of the Samaveda and the Upanishads, thus offering prayers to you. Just as great sages resort to the branches of Vedic literatures, the bumblebees are enjoying the showers of flowers falling from your hair."
Next.
"O Brahmana, I can simply hear the tinkling of your ankle bells. Within those bells, the three birds seem to be chirping among themselves. Although I do not see their forms, I can hear how they are chirping. When I look at your beautiful circular hips, I see they are the lovely color of kadamba flowers, and your waist is encircled by a belt of burning cinders. Indeed, you seem to have forgotten to dress yourself."
Last sentence, Prabhupada says, she was fully dressed, but Agnidra had become so lusty that he asked, "Why have you come naked?" So that was his desire actually. Go ahead.
Agnidra then praised Purvachitti raised breast. He said, "My dear Brahmana, your waist is very thin, yet with great difficulty you are carefully carrying two horns, to which my eyes have become attracted. What is filling those two beautiful horns? You seems to have spread fragrant red powder upon them, powder that is like the rising morning sun. O most fortunate one, I beg to inquire where you have gotten this fragrant powder that is perfuming my ashrama, my place of residence."
So, anyway, go ahead.
"Oh, best friend, will you kindly show me the place where you reside? I cannot imagine how the resident of that place have gotten such wonderful bodily feature as your raised breast, which agitate the mind and eyes of the person like me who sees them. Judging by the sweet speech and kind smiles of those residents, I think that their mouth must contain nectar."
Next.
"My dear friend, what do you eat to maintain your body? Because you are chewing betals, a pleasing scent is emanating from your mouth. This proves that you always eat the remnants of food offered to Vishnu. Indeed, you must also be an expansion of Lord Vishnu's body. Your face is beautiful as a pleasing lake. Your jeweled earring resembles two brilliant sharks with unblinking eyes like those of Vishnu, and your own eyes resemble two restless fish. Simultaneously, therefore, two sharks and two restless fish are swimming in the lake of your face. Besides them, the white rose of your teeth seems like rows of very beautiful swans in the water, and your scattered hair resembles swarms of bumblebee following the beauty of your face.
So he fully knows the description of the Lord's beauty. This is actually a description of Lord's beauty, right? Which comes in the third canto. And he's using that to describe her. And he's considering her to be an expansion of Lord Vishnu. So this is how bewildered he has become. But see, he is not an ordinary person. He knows all this. He knows the description of Vishnu. He knows all this. But still he has become so bewildered. And he's using his Krishna conscious knowledge to describe her face. Just see. So he knows that prasadam is also very fragrant. Prabhupada is writing that. Lord Vishnu is offered all kinds of sacrificial ingredients, and because devotees always eat prasad, the remnants of his food, the scent of sacrificial ingredients emanates not only from Vishnu, but also from the devotees who eat the remnants of his food or the food of his devotees. Agnidra considered Purvachiti an expansion of Lord Vishnu because of the pleasing scent of her body. Go ahead.
My mind is already restless, and by playing with a ball, moving it all about with your lotus-like palm, you are also agitating my eyes. Your curling black hair is now scattered, but you are not attentive to arranging it. Are you not going to arrange it? Like a man attached to woman, the most cunning wind is trying to take off your lower garment. Are you not mindful of it?
Okay, go ahead, next.
Oh, best among those performing austerities, where did you get this wonderful beauty that dismantles the austerities performed by others? Where have you learned this art? What austerity have you undergone to achieve this beauty? My dear friend, I desire that you join me to perform austerity and penance, for it may be that the creator of the universe, Lord Brahma, being pleased with me, has sent you to become my wife.
So you see, he understood that Lord Brahma has sent her to become his wife. So he thought, Prabhupada writes, he thought that Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, might have been pleased with him and might therefore have sent her to become his wife. So he requested Purvachiti to become his wife so that together they could perform austerities and penances in family life. In other words, a suitable wife helps her husband perform penances and austerities in household life if both of them are on the same elevated platform of spiritual understanding. Without spiritual understanding, husband and wife cannot be equally situated. Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, is interested in good progeny. Therefore, unless he is pleased, one cannot get a suitable wife. In fact, Lord Brahma is worshipped in marriage ceremonies. In India, even today, wedding invitations are still issued with picture of Lord Brahma on the face of the card. Is it true? These days, more of Ganesh. Okay.
Lord Brahma, who is worshipped by Brahmanas, has very mercifully given you to me, and that is why I am it. I do not want to give up your company, for my mind and eyes are fixed upon you and cannot be drawn away. O woman with beautiful raised breasts, I am your follower. You may take me wherever you like, and your friends may also follow me.
So it's become so subservient to her. You can take me wherever you like. As Prabhupada writes, now Agnidra frankly admits his weakness. He was attracted to Purvachitti, and therefore, before she could say, "But I have no business with you," he expressed his desire to be united with her. He was so attracted that he was ready to go anywhere, hell or heaven, in her company. When one is absorbed in lust and the influence of sex, one surrenders to the feet of a woman without reservations. Srila Madhvacharya remarks in this connection that when one engages in joking and talking like a crazy man, one may say anything and everything, but his words will be meaningless. Okay, go ahead.
Sukadeva Goswami continued. Maharaj Agnidhar, whose intelligence was like that of a demigod, knew the art of flattering women to win them to his side. He therefore pleased that celestial gate with his lusty words and gained her favor.
So Prabhupada writes here, since King Agnidhra was a devotee, he actually had no attraction for material enjoyment, but because he wanted a wife for progeny and Lord Brahma had sent Purvachiti for this purpose, he expertly pleased her with flattering words. Women are attracted by man's flattering words. One who's expert in this art of flattery is called Vidagdha. Next.
Attracted by the intelligence, learning, youth, beauty, behavior, opulence, and magnanimity of Agnidhar, the king of Jambudvipa and master of all heroes, Purvachiti lived with him for many thousands of years and luxuriously enjoyed both worldly and heavenly happiness.
Next.
In the womb of Purvachiti, Maharaj Agnidhar, the best of kings, begot 9 sons named Nabi, Kimpurusha, Harivasha, Ilavrita, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, Kuru, Bhadrasva, and Ketumala.
Good.
Purvachiti gave birth to these 9 sons, one each year. But after they grew up, she left them at home and again approached Lord Brahma to worship him.
So she gave birth and then she left him. So you find everywhere the stories of these apsaras are like that only. They do their business and go away. That's what Prabhupada writes. There are many instances in which apsaras, heavenly angels, have descended to this earth by the order of a superior demigod like Lord Brahma or Lord Indra, have followed the demigod's order by marrying someone and giving birth to children, and then return to their celestial homes. This is even Menaka. Purvachiti did not remain permanently with Maharaj Agnidhra. After cooperating in his household affairs, she left Maharaj Agnidhra and all 9 sons and returned to Brahma to worship him. Go ahead.
Because of drinking the breast milk of their mother, the 9 sons of Agnidhra naturally had strong, well-built bodies. Their father gave them each a kingdom in a different part of Jambudvipa. And the kingdoms were named according to the names of the sons. Thus the sons of Agnidhra ruled the kingdoms they received from their father.
Here Prabhupada talks about how if the baby receives breast milk, he becomes very strong. Okay, go ahead.
After Purvachitti's departure, King Agnidhar, his lusty desires not at all satisfied, always thought of her. Therefore, in accordance with the Vedic injunction, the king after his death was promoted to the same planet as his celestial wife. That planet, which is called Pitraloka, is where the Pitas, the forefathers, live in great delight.
So because he was always thinking of her, so she went to Pitraloka and then he also went there. So that's what Prabhupada says. If one always thinks of something, he suddenly gets a related body after death. Maharaj Agnidhra was always thinking of Pitraloka, the place where his wife had returned. Therefore, after his death, he achieved that same planet, probably to live with her again. Okay, and the last verse.
After the departure of their father, the 9 brothers married the 9 daughters of Meru, named Meru Devi, Pratirupa, Ugradamstri, Lata, Ramya, Syama, Nari, Bhadra, and Devaviti.
Thus, in the Bhaktan Purports of the 5th canto, 2nd chapter, Shambhavatam, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Agnidhra. So, okay, so some lessons to learn from this pastime. Bolo.
When I read this especially Agnidhra's meditation when he went to austerities.
See, initially he went with good intention to meditate on Brahma. But in between his meditation broke.
So how a sadhaka has to be careful while doing his meditation or any sadhana. So one should not, though our purva chitta vrittis will dance in japa. So, but we should not be seeing towards those vrittis. We should not contemplate on them. Though they may come, but we should be careful about not to.
Right.
meditate on
Dhyayato
Vishyan
Vishayan
Pumsa.
Pumsa. Yes, the whole problem begins with a dhyan. Okay, something more? Yes, Radha.
One should be careful about what one desires. And that's why if one is not careful about it, then Krishna may provide.
Correct. Yes. So Agnidra, he already desired to get a wife. And so therefore Brahmaji just fulfilled his desire. That's all. So yes, so one has to be careful what one desires. So Krishna will just fulfill them. Anything else? Hey, your mic is not on.
Should be always in association of devotees. Don't be alone.
Yes. Always be in association. Don't be alone. Or at least, even if one is alone, one should not be actually alone. One may be alone, but one has to be in association with the holy name or with the books, associating with Srila Prabhupada. So in that way, one is never alone, even though one may be physically alone. So yes, that's also important. Always be in association. Yes. What else?
And worship of demigods, generally demigods fulfill whatever material desires we have. But if we worship Krishna, then Krishna sees what is good for us, and accordingly he first purifies, then he gives. He doesn't directly give.
Yes, possible.
One for marriage, he also should like Apsara. Once things are done, they also should leave everything and go for renounced order.
And go for what?
Renounced order, Vanaprastha.
Right. Ultimately, one has to renounce everything. So yes, so therefore the important point is one should always be extremely careful and not take things for granted. So in the name of preaching, sometimes preachers get trapped. Of course, within our own movement, there are so many examples. And so therefore, we find that Srila Prabhupada was very exemplary in his behavior. Maybe you heard this pastime. This pastime is told by one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples named Mahabuddhi Prabhu. Mahabuddhi. You heard? What? Tell. Huh?
Prabhupada is sitting in the Kolkata temple. His Prabhupada's sister comes, and that time this Mahabuddhi Prabhu, he thinks that I should go out. And then Prabhupada loudly, very heavily puts his hand on the lap of Mahabuddhi Prabhu and tells him to sit here. And then after his sister goes, then Prabhupada recites that sloka. Balvan Indriya Grama.
Matra swasra duhitra va na viviktasano bhavet Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvams Vikrishta. So Srila Prabhupada is so old, in his late 70s, and his sister is of the same age, but still Srila Prabhupada tells this Mahabuddhi Prabhu to sit down. So for one in the renounced order, never be alone with a woman. Very important. So Srila Prabhupada is showing through his example. And we see a similar example with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also. You might have heard that. Wife of his disciple O.B.L. Kapoor. So once after a class, she wanted to speak alone with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He refused. He said, no, all these my disciples, no problem, you can speak. He refused. Even though he was quite elderly at that time, she was young. So this is the example that has been set by our acharyas. So one has to be extremely careful, because otherwise Maya will trick. And one may... And then when Maya tricks, then one tends to justify everything. Then one tends to justify. So therefore one has to be extremely careful. There was one brahmachari who got into a little bit of trouble with a lady and all that. And so, so as the whole thing was going on, then so he started saying, maybe Krishna has a plan. Maybe Krishna wants me to bring some elevated soul into this world. Literally, I mean, I'm not saying some fictitious things. I didn't say anything, but I was thinking, see how Maya just tricks the person. Person begins to justify everything. There was another brahmachari who was doing the service of fund collection, well-wisher cultivation, that type of service, and meeting very, very rich people, going to very posh societies and rich people, and in these programs, usually men, women both come, and these days, unfortunately, women of so-called rich aristocratic families, they're poorly dressed, as if they have no money to get dressed. So this, there were these two brahmacharis who were doing these programs in one place. And so they were doing all this. Of course, they got instruction to do that service, no doubt. But then, along with that, they had another big weakness. And both of them actually, but one of them especially, he would sincerely never come for the morning program. He was determined not to come. And so many senior devotees and other devotees were giving warnings. See, first of all, you're doing this type of service. On top of this, you are not coming for morning program. You're in big danger. You know what he said? He said, so by the time maybe 1-2 months had passed, he was doing that service. So he was saying that, see, so many days have passed and I'm doing this service. Nothing has happened. I'm still going on. Nothing has happened. So he challenged Maya like that. He gave challenge. And Maya took it very seriously. And then within a very short time after that, within very short time, he had taken some of these, the people whom he was cultivating, he had taken them for yatra to Jagannath Puri. And then one evening, as the cool breezes were blowing on the ocean beach, something happened. So, one cannot take these things lightly. So, both those brahmacharis had serious difficulties. So this is Shastra, we cannot play around. There's no playing around. Narad Muni himself has said, what? Man is like butter, woman is like fire. You bring them together, the butter has to melt. So, one has to be extremely careful. So, if devotees are engaged in some congregation preaching, dealing with congregation, one has to be extremely careful. So at the most, one can give a lecture and, one can answer philosophical questions in class. That's all. But there cannot be any follow-up. If the brahmachari starts doing follow-up, they will follow you up. And that's what happened to these brahmacharis. So they were doing all this follow-up of all these men and women and all that. So one has to be careful. Can't take things for granted. How much ever elevated one may be. In our society, we have seen everyone, from sannyasis and GBCs and whoever. Nothing is going to protect except the mercy of the Lord coming through His pure devotees. Okay, fine. Any questions? Okay, chapter 3. Rishabdev's appearance in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of King Nabhi. Text 1. Shukdev Goswami continued to speak. Maharaj Nabhi, the son of Agnidra, okay, so this is son of Agnidra now, wished to have sons, and therefore he attentively began to offer prayers and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Lord Vishnu, the master and enjoyer of all sacrifices. Maharaj Nabhi's wife, Meru Devi, who had not given birth to any children at that time, also worshipped Lord Vishnu along with her husband. So Maharaj Nabhi is worshipping Lord Vishnu with a desire to have son. Okay, read.
In the performance of a sacrifice, there are 7 transcendental means to obtain the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By sacrificing valuable things or eatables. Second, by acting in terms of place. Third, by acting in terms of time. Fourth, by offering hymns. Fifth, by going through the priest. sixth, by offering gifts to the priest; seventh, by observing the regulative principles. However, one cannot always obtain the Supreme Lord through this paraphernalia. Nonetheless, the Lord is affectionate to his devotee. Therefore, when Maharaj Nabi, who was a devotee, worshipped and offered prayers to the Lord with great faith and devotion, and with pure, uncontaminated mind, superficially performing some yajna in the line of Pravarga, the kind Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to his affection for his devotees, appeared before King Nabi in his unconquerable and captivating form with four hands. In this way, to fulfill the desire of his devotees, the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifested himself in his beautiful body before his devotee. This body pleases the mind and eyes of the devotees.
Okay, so they were performing this yajna to please the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord was pleased, and then he appeared before them in his beautiful form. So Prabhupada writes in the second paragraph, one can understand and see the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the process of devotional service and not in any other way. Although Maharaj Nabi performed prescribed duties and sacrifices, it should still be considered that the Lord appeared before him not due to his sacrifices, but because of his devotional service. It was for this reason that the Lord agreed to appear before him as beautiful bodily features. So the sacrifices also were part of devotional service. They were not something separate. So now there is a description of the beautiful form of the Lord. Read.
Lord Vishnu appeared before King Navi with four arms. He was very bright and he appeared to be the best of all personalities. Around the lower portion of his body, he wore a yellow silken garment. On his chest was the mark of Srivatsa, which always displays beauty. He carried a conch shell, lotus flower, disc, and club, and he wore a garland of forest flowers and the Kaustuba gem. He was beautifully decorated with a helmet, earrings, bangles, belt, pearl necklace, armlets, ankle bells, and other bodily ornaments bedecked with radiant jewels. Seeing the Lord present before them, King Nabhi and his priests and associates felt just like poor people who have suddenly attained great riches. They received the Lord and respectfully bent their heads and offered him things in worship.
So the Lord personally appeared. So towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada writes, when one realizes God and sees the Lord face to face, one certainly thinks that he has gained the best of all things. Rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. When one experiences a higher taste, his consciousness is fixed. We already discussed about this point of higher taste. After seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one ceases to be attracted by anything material. One then remains steady in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so now the Brahmanas, the priests, are offering prayers to the Lord. Okay, go ahead.
The priests begin to offer prayers to the Lord, saying, O most worshipable one, we are simply your servants. Although you are full in yourself, please, out of your causeless mercy, accept a little service from us, your eternal servants. We are not actually aware of a transcendental form, but we can simply offer our respectful obeisances again and again, as instructed by the Vedic literatures and authorized acharyas. Materialistic living entities are very much attracted to the modes of material nature, and therefore they are never perfect. But you are above the jurisdiction of all material conceptions. Your name, form, and qualities are all transcendental and beyond the conception of experimental knowledge. Indeed, who can conceive of you? In the material world, we can perceive only material names and qualities. We have no other power than to offer our respectful obeisances and prayers unto you, the transcendental person. The chanting of your auspicious transcendental qualities will wipe out the sins of all mankind. That is the most auspicious activity for us. We can thus partially understand your supernatural position.
So these priests, they're saying, although you're full in yourself, please, out of your causeless mercy, accept a little service from us, your eternal servants. So here this is an important Siddhanta. The Lord does not require our service. Prabhupada is quoting in the purports. Lakshmi Sahasrashata Sambrama Sevyamanam. He has hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis to do service. Does he require a service? No. Then why does he accept our service? Two. Why does the Lord accept our service? He doesn't require a service. So why does he accept?
Bless us.
Out of his compassion. So this is, we were referring to this before also, 7, 9, 11. So somebody can recite that verse, 7, 9, 11. Huh?
नैवात्मना प्रभुरयं निजलाभपूर्णो मानं जनादविदुषो करुणो वृणीते यद्यज्जनो भगवते विदधीतमानं तच्चात्मने प्रतिमुखस्य यथा मुखश्री.
Pratimukasya yatha mukashri. So the Lord is nijalabhapurna. He is totally satisfied in himself. He doesn't require anything. But yet he accepts our service from fools. Avidusha, fools, ignorant people. For what? What's the reason? Karuno vrinite. The only reason is his karuna, his compassion. Out of his compassion, he accepts service from us so that we get benefited. He doesn't require our service. And then when we serve him and when he is satisfied, the jiva also becomes satisfied. That is why it's given the analogy of pratimukasya yatha mukashri. When the face is decorated, then the reflection of the face in the mirror is automatically decorated. And so therefore, one always has to think that it is not that Lord requires our service, it is not that devotees require our service. I render service for whose benefit? My own benefits. So sometimes we may think that, oh, if I don't render this service, what will happen? Department will close, temple will close. No, nothing closes, everything goes on. So many people come and go, nothing happens. The show goes on. Because if Krishna wants, he can manage to get servants, right? What difficulty he has? He can easily get people to serve him. He is Paramatma, he can inspire anyone. So therefore, we have to understand that if we are given an opportunity to serve, we must be grateful for that opportunity, that I'm getting opportunity to serve for my own benefit, for my own purification. So therefore, one must not consider the service a burden. Rather, it is an opportunity for my own purification. Otherwise, how can I progress if I don't get that opportunity to serve? So one must be grateful for that opportunity. Therefore, we find Srila Prabhupada, especially when he speaks to general audiences. If you have heard lectures, where Srila Prabhupada gives lectures to general audiences, like some Rotary Club or something like that. Srila Prabhupada begins his lectures by saying, what? I'm very grateful that you have invited me. That's how he begins. And of course, at the end of every lecture, Prabhupada says, thank you very much. So, that is how a devotee actually is very grateful for getting an opportunity to serve. Here Prabhupada writes, out of his causeless mercy upon his devotees, the Lord appeared before Maharaj Nabi. Similarly, when we are engaged in the Lord's devotional service, the Lord reveals himself to us. Sevon mukhe jivado swayameva suritam. This is the only way to understand the Supreme Personality of God. Bhakti amam abhijanati. So we have to hear from authorities and from Shastras and consider the Supreme Lord in terms of these statements. We cannot imagine or concoct forms and attributes of the Lord. Okay, one more verse we will read.
O Supreme Lord, you are full in every respect.
You are certainly very satisfied when your devotees offer you prayers with faltering voices and in ecstasy bring you tulsi leaves, water, twigs bearing new leaves, and newly grown grass. This surely makes you satisfied.
Read the purport.
One does not need great wealth, education, or opulence to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one is fully absorbed in love and ecstasy, he need offer only a flower and a little water. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. The Supreme Lord can be pleased only by devotional service. Therefore, it is said here that the Lord is surely satisfied by devotion and nothing else. Quoting from the Gautamiya Tantra, the Hari Bhakti Vilas states, Tulasi dala matrena jalasya chulukena va vikrinite swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhakta vatsalaha. Shri Krishna, who is very affectionate toward his devotees, sells himself to a devotee who offers merely a tulsi leaf and a palmful of water. The Supreme Lord is causelessly merciful upon his devotee, so much so that even the poorest of men can offer him a little water and a flower in devotion and thus please him. This is due to his affectionate dealings with his devotees.
Right. So we often hear that the only thing the Lord is pleased by is devotion. So again in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers also that verse comes, no? What is that? Nahi, what? Dhana and all that. What is that? Gajayutapaya. I think this is before that. In any case, so in that verse also Prahlad Maharaj is praying that how the Lord is not impressed with dhana and opulence and aristocracy, birth and rich family. So he's only pleased with devotion like that of Gajendra. Even Gajendra could please because of the devotion. So we hear this many times. So what does it exactly mean to have devotion, to have bhakti? What does it mean, practically speaking? Anyone can say, I have so much devotion. What does it mean? What does it mean? Surrender is a very vague term.
Voluntarily accepting inconvenience for the pleasure of Lord.
Voluntarily accepting inconveniences for the pleasure of the Lord. That's the definition of tapasya. That's correct. That's correct. So one has to undergo some tapasya. That's true. But what is the exact meaning? What does it practically mean to have love, devotion?
To be engaged in 9 process of
okay, that's in general, okay, 9 process of devotional service. What is the Lord looking for?
Love. Love of it.
And that's what anyone can say, I have love. Service attitude, okay, that's a good point. Service attitude. What does service attitude mean? To please the Lord. To act in ways by which the Lord will be pleased. Not so that I will be pleased, but simply considering how the Lord will be pleased, how the devotees will be pleased. And so that means in order to please the Lord, one is ready to go through the tapasya. One is ready to go through the austerity in order to please the Lord. So because if one wants to act in ways so that the other person is pleased, then there is some inconvenience there. If one wants to render first-class service, there's some inconvenience. So we all know the example of Raghav Pandit, right? How Raghav Pandit, he would go many miles to get the best of coconuts with a high price. So he wanted to offer the best. So that is bhakti, love. So when one loves someone, one wants to offer the best. So any service, so if one is focused on that, how I can render this service in the best possible way, so that the Lord is pleased, the Acharya is pleased. So the more we are focused on that, that's bhakti. See, anyone can do the service in a very mechanical way for the sake of doing it. ठीक है, कुछ तो हो गया. So one can do it that way, mechanically, something is happening. So it applies to everything, whatever we do, whether it's chanting the holy names, whether we're hearing a class, whether we're preaching, whether doing deity worship. In every service, the same principle applies. One can either do it mechanically for the sake of doing it, or one can put one's heart and soul into the service, maintain high quality of the service, and be fixed in pleasing Guru and Krishna. That makes the difference. That's what the Lord is looking for. Otherwise, that's what we're discussing. The Lord does not want the service. Service he can get from anyone. But what he wants from us is that love, that devotion, which is manifested in terms of the selfless sacrifice and the quality of the service. That is what pleases. So, as an example, we all know the well-known story of Yamuna Mataji and the hot rice on the train. Everyone knows, correct? So when the ticket checker said, sorry, we don't allow anyone to cook in our train, then Yamuna Mataji could have gone back and said, sorry, Prabhupada, they don't allow us to cook. Finished, matter ended. She could have done that, right? Perfectly justified. But she didn't stop at that. She went one step ahead. She was very serious. So when she said that, you don't allow, I'll jump off the train. And because she said it with so much seriousness, the man took it seriously. Then he allowed it. So that is the meaning of love. Not accepting no for an answer. No. Somehow I'll try to please. So that is what is required. Then that's what pleases. That's the bhakti. Otherwise, superficially, one is doing something mechanically chanting, mechanically hearing. Things go like that. Then we cannot expect the Lord to be pleased. And if the Lord is not pleased, then we don't get what? Param drishtva nivartate. The taste we don't get. If we want the taste, we have to make the sacrifice to please. And more we make the sacrifice, Krishna is pleased, then we get the taste. That's the sacrifice. That's the only thing which the Lord wants. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. So we'll continue tomorrow, the rest of the chapter. Hare Krishna.